Odyssey Alexander.
Jesse Warren playing like an MVP.
And oh my goodness!
And makes the play! Called strike three.
Oh, that's a laser double play! Aubrey Leach laying down the bunt. Not going to get her. Dangerous hitter here. Grand slam!
The best players in the world.
First pitch to Bubba swinging, and she does it again!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Series 2 draft. I'm your host, Savannah Collins, joined by the three captains. We are live from the Wichita Applebee's as we eat some lunch, a little bit of a late lunch after getting a late start today, and make some draft picks. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. I would love to know, as you all are tuning in, I've been checking out the chat. Before we get started, let us know where you're tuning in from, where you're watching from, and we are going to get things started. So first, the people you're here to see, the captains, Jocelyn Allo leading the gold team this week, Taylor Edwards, captain of the orange squad, and Mackenzie Clark leading the blue team. So these are your three captains this week who rose to the top of the leaderboard to take over and be ready to lead their own teams for Series 2. Okay, I know we moved through these first rounds quick, so we'll talk about how they got there as we start to slow things down. But I have a feeling they know their first picks as we're coming into today. All right, Mackenzie, you start us off. Who is the number one pick of this draft?
Peyton Gottschall.
Peyton Gottschall is the first draft pick off the board. So Peyton and Mackenzie were on the same team together this past week for the Gold Squad with Team Leach, and they'll remain together as she takes her off the board with her first pick. All right, Taylor Edwards, who you got?
First pick, pitcher, Montana Fouts.
Montana Fouts is joining Team Edwards. We have our first two picks in, both pitchers, no surprise there. Jocelyn Allo is ready to lock in hers.
First pick, Taylor McQuillan.
Taylor McQuillan. All right, there you have it. Your first picks of the draft. All three pitchers. Not a lot of surprise there. That's a trend that we see season to season, that pitchers are often some of the first picks on the board, especially with all three of our captains this week being position players. So they have to start to lock in that bullpen and know who they're going with to start things off. Okay, Mackenzie, your second pick.
Catcher, Kayla Kowalik.
Kayla Kowalik. All right, we have our first battery on the board now, too. So Team Clark is starting things off with Peyton Gottschall and Kayla Kowalik. Taylor, who's your next pick?
Outfielder, Bubba Nichols.
Bubba Nichols is off the draft board, and while her name is called, let's talk about why she's not a captain this week. I've seen some good explanations in the chat, so shout out to those of all who know these AU rules. So Bubba has an excused absence for today and tomorrow, and so in order to be a captain, you have to be present and on site and in season for every single day of that week. So because she had that, it moved everybody up a place. And that's why Taylor Edwards is leading the orange squad and Mackenzie Clark is leading the blue squad this week. But Bubba will be back for the start of Series 2, so she's not missing any games. She just couldn't fulfill all those captain duties, so that's why she's not one of those names this week. All right, our next pick, Jocelyn.
Next pick, Jordan Rudley.
Jordan Rudley, another catcher off the board. So we're starting to see in these first couple rounds, pitchers and catchers going early. Mackenzie, if you're ready for your third pick, let us know.
Pitcher, Sarah Willis.
Sarah Willis. Okay, I know we're only three picks in, but Team Clark has some familiar faces. So Mackenzie Clark was playing behind Peyton Gottschall and Sarah Willis, who were on Team Leach, and then added in Kayla Kowalik to the mix as a catcher. So I see some questions in this chat. When does Series 2 start? So Series 2 starts on Sunday, June 16th. The first team that's going to play the doubleheader in Series 2 is Team Edwards. They're going to start off versus Team Clark at 12 Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. And then Team Allo is going to face Team Edwards right after that game ends. Both of those games are going to be on ESPN2, so easy to tune in this week. And Taylor Edwards is ready with her next pick.
Middle infielder, Hannah Flippin.
Hannah Flippin is off the board. Starting to see some of those position players, especially in the field, start to fill in here. The first one aside from Kayla Kowalik is going to be Hannah Flippin. And Jocelyn's ready with her next pick too.
Next pick, Tori Fidalis.
Tori Vidalis is going to Team Allo. I don't think this is coming as any surprise to people who really tuned in and watched. Tori was one of those many hot hitters that we saw in week one. Some of the ones that are already off the board. So Bubba Nichols went 4 for 12 at the plate with 6 RBIs and 3 home runs. She's going to be competing with Team Edwards this week. The AUX record, by the way, for home runs is 5 in a season. Mia Davidson set it last year. So for Bubba to already have 3 in Series 1, it's definitely doable to possibly have a new person break that record. We're ready with our next pick. Okay, Mackenzie, start the next round.
Kaylee Harding.
Kaylee Harding's going to Team Clark. So we're talking about some of those top performers. Here's how these captains got to their spots. So starting off with Mackenzie Clark, who just made her next pick to start off the 4th round with Kaylee Harding. She had a rare triple this week for plus 30 points and a grand slam as she went 4 for 9. She's 5th right now in the league in stat points, tied for 3rd in MVP points. I think is really interesting that you'll start to see as this series plays out is the way that people move up the leaderboard. Some are really heavy in one category. Some have a balance of point accumulation in all 3. I would say Mackenzie Clark is one of those right now. She had win points, she's had stat points, and had MVP points, and that's how she rose to the top, and she's a captain this week. All right, Taylor Edwards, tell us your next pick. She needs a little more time. And while she picks, I'll tell you how Taylor Edwards became a captain this week. So she hit 267 at the plate. She is our RBI leader right now with 7 runs batted in. Another one of those athletes this week that had a grand slam. She's also the MVP points leader, which is huge for her in this point category. She had 100 MVP points. She was voted first place MVP in one of her games, second place MVP in another one of her games. So to pick up MVP points in 2 out of 4 games in Series 1 was clutch for Taylor as she's ready to make her next pick.
Middle infielder, Erin Koffel.
Okay, 2 middle infielders back-to-back for Team Edwards, Hannah Flippin and Erin Koffel. I think what's really neat about that is just being able to establish that chemistry. That's something that I heard a lot in the dugout is these newcomers starting to get to know the returners and the returners getting to know them too, seeing who matched, who fit together well. Having Hannah Flippin, you're getting a ton of experience, that veteran leadership. I know her and Taylor Edwards have played on so many teams together throughout their AU careers and with Team USA. Then you add in Erin Koffel, who also has some USA experience. She's played internationally. She seems like a veteran pro when she steps to the plate too, so she's bringing that really solid mentality on defense and offense as well. All right, Jocelyn, tell us who your pick is for the 4th round.
Pick Bailey Klingler.
Bailey Klingler going to Team Allo. Let's take a little bit of a deep dive into how Jocelyn Allo got to the top. She had a 455 average. Her on-base percentage was 571. She's one of those home run leaders right now. We mentioned Bubba Nichols, who's leading the category. Then there's another group of athletes who are all tied right now, having 2 home runs on the board. And those plus 40 points are huge, especially when you only have 4 games in. Just being able to pick up those extra points for the extra bases is really how you move to the top. And that's a big part of how Jocelyn was able to be a captain this week, take over the number 1 spot. She is our stat point leader after Series 1. Okay, Mackenzie, start us off for the 5th round.
Julia Cottrell.
Julia Cottrell goes to Team Clark. So far, Team Clark is all rookies and newcomers on the squad. So you've got 2 newcomers in the pitcher position, Peyton Gottschall and Sarah Willis too. Then Kayla Kowalik, Kaylee Harding, and now Julia Cottrell. So this squad is all the players who have come in and really made a big impact and really let themselves be known on who they are at Athletes Unlimited, being new players this season to the roster. Okay, Tay, who you got next?
Pitcher, Mariah Maison.
Mariah Maison going to Team Edwards. So you're starting to see a little bit of her pitching staff come together. She started off with her first pick in Montana Fouts. Then you're going to see Mariah Maison here in the 5th round. You'll see these captains really start to strategize pitchers who complement each other well. Maybe they have different stuff, having righty and lefty matchups too. There aren't a lot of lefties in the league for the AUX season, so it makes those pitchers who have that look in super high demand. Okay, Jocelyn, let us know who your next pick is.
Next pick, Maddie Penta.
Another pitcher off the board in Maddie Pinta. And take a little bit of a deep dive in what we saw from the pitchers this first series. So the pitcher who threw the most with 12 innings pitched was actually 2 pitchers, Taylor McQuillan and Alyssa Denham, both threw 12 innings. Right behind was Montana Fouts, who threw 9. Peyton Gottschall threw 8 1/3 innings. Most of the pitchers had about 2 to 3 appearances, no more than that. But right now we'll take a look at who is the best record. So 2-1, Taylor McQuillan, also 2-1, Montana Fouts. Okay, Mackenzie, who's your next pick?
Aubrey Leach.
Aubrey Leach. Mackenzie Clark is reuniting with her captain from Series 1 in her next pick. What was really neat about that Series 1 squad is if you were following on social or watching on TV, you absolutely saw the rubber chickens in the dugout. They were the spring chickies for being a team full of newcomers. Team Clark is still a team full of newcomers as she starts to put together her team. But Team Edwards is ready for their next pick. Taylor, who is it?
Outfielder, Morgan Zirkle.
Morgan Zirkle, the outfielder who always brings the speed, is so dynamic at the plate and being able to slap, bunt, and hit for power too. She's Team Edwards' 6th pick, and Jocelyn's ready with her next one too.
Next pick, Sydney McKinney.
Sid McKinney is off the board. All right. We've got some cheers in here for Sid McKinney, the Wichita legend. I'm really surprised now, wondering when is someone going to pick Sid. I know you have to get in those picks for your pitchers or catchers too, but Sid is swinging such a hot bat. She is 8-for-10 after Series 1. She has the best average in the league. She's consistently such a hard out. It really brings that side of things of speed, being versatile to a team. So Sid McKinney is going to Team Allo. Okay, Mackenzie, lead us off for the 7th round.
Jesse Warren.
Jesse Warren on Team Clark. This will be the first time at AU that Mackenzie and Jesse play together. As if you were following last week, Jesse was the blue team captain. She'll be back in blue for Series 2 as she joins this squad as a corner infield pick in the 7th round for Team Clark. Reading through the chat a little bit. Interesting take, Rudy, about always best to get the doubleheader out of the way. It's an interesting take. I think, wherever you get it in the week, it's going to be a challenge. I think I might have to agree that it is nice to get it out of the way. Then you can focus on just winning one the following days. It was neat to kind of talk to some different players. I was talking to the Blue Squad last week who had the doubleheader, talking with Haley McClinney and Tori Vidalis of just no matter when you have it, it's going to be a challenge. Bouncing back from that second game is always super tough. Is there 3 weeks of AUX or 5? Just 3 weeks, or I would more call it series of AUX. Athletes are going to play a total of 18 games instead of our 30-game season like we have in championship season, but that will be a 5-week schedule. It's hard to say weeks because it's Friday right now, and we're going to be playing games on Sunday, so not a full week of practice and prep and games. Okay, Tay, who's your next pick?
Fielder, Jadlyn Alchin.
Jadlyn Alchin goes to Team Edwards. If you're tuning in, you saw some crazy catches that she had this week in the outfield. She had some really dynamic at-bats, being able to play a little bit of small ball, bring that aspect to her team as well. So the Bruin is going to Team Edwards this week. Okay, Jocelyn, tell us who your next pick. You're moving through these quick.
Next pick, Haley McClenny.
Halo is going to be in gold this week with Team Allo. All right, we're about halfway through. Let's take a little bit of a peek at who's left on the draft board. And I'd love to know, if you're tuning in, who would be your next pick from this group of players. So we see a big chunk of pitchers left. 6 in that category still up for grabs. Catchers in small supply. 2 designated players yet. Just a pair of middle infielders. Handful of corner infielders and outfielders as well. What was really neat watching this AUX season was just the catcher position be one that constantly switched in and out. From the dugout perspective, and if you were really paying close attention on TV too, you saw substitutions made at the catcher position a lot. A lot of times they were paired with a pitcher that they worked with throughout the whole series. So as you kind of dig into these teams, maybe compare last week to this week, you'll see pitchers a lot of times ask for the catcher that they might be comfortable with, or vice versa, a catcher picking a pitcher that they're more comfortable with to be able to put that battery together that has that trust. All right, we're ready to start off the 8th round. Mackenzie, let us know.
Alicia Ocasio.
Another pitcher off the board. Team Clark selecting Alicia Ocasio to start off the 8th round. She's picked number 22 of the draft as we move through this 42-player roster here at AUX this season. Ooh, Tasha Morgan. You guessed that next pick right. Nice job. She shouted out Ocasio and Wiggins. I see some votes for Haley Lee and Kaylani Ricketts to be the next pick. Riley West or Odyssey Alexander. Okay, we're thinking the same here. All right, Tay, let us know who your next pick is.
Pitcher, Alyssa Denham.
Alyssa Denham going to Taylor Edwards' squad. I think Denham was someone who really got a tough break sometimes this week. Maybe don't let the ERA fool you, even though she's, still has a below 3 ERA. She really kept her hits low. A lot of times it was just home runs. So when you're in this setting and you're trying to find your place and get comfortable and face batters you've never seen before, I think to get Alyssa Denham right now in the 8th round is a quality pick from Taylor Edwards. Okay, Jocelyn, you're up.
Next pick, Megan Wiggins.
Megan Wiggins. Tasha Morgan, are you in the draft rooms? How do you know who these next picks are going to be? You've guessed 2 out of 3 in this round. Nice job. Okay, we're ready to start the next round. Mackenzie, let us know.
Billy Andrews.
Billy Andrews is off the draft board going to Team Clark. She's another one of our newcomers this season, joining the Blue Squad for Series 2. Okay, Taylor, let us know who your next pick is.
Designated player, Carly Spade.
Carly Spade, one of those hitters that really flex their power this week. So right now, we mentioned how Bubba Nichols is the home run leader, but Carly Spade, Taylor Edwards, and Jocelyn Allo all have 2 homers so far in the AUX season. Carly Spade and Jocelyn Allo were both home run queens in college, the only NCAA players ever to have over 100 career home runs. They're both playing in AUX this season. I do not envy being a pitcher in this league. I think that's the last responsibility I'd ever want to have to take on facing these type of hitters, especially as we're just looking at averages and how well players, really came out and showed out in week 1. It was impressive. Okay, Jocelyn, who's your 9th pick?
Odyssey Alexander.
Odyssey Alexander going to be playing in gold again. We'll have to get that uniform washed and turned around for her. She's repeating the gold this week. It's that completes through the 9th round of this draft, as we just have a couple left. And Mackenzie, you know who it is before we can even get through our next pick. Who's your pick for the 10th round?
Connie Ricketts.
Kaylani Ricketts. I saw a lot of people in the chat asking to see her next off the draft board. A veteran pitcher who joined Athletes Unlimited, had an illustrious career at OU, has played for Team USA, has played pro in the United States such a long time. Really brings that veteran perspective and leadership to the pitching position for Team Clark this week. There's one thing I've learned. It's not try to guess what's going to happen in the Athletes Unlimited, but I do like this the suggestion for Hope Trotwine in the chat. I want to talk a little bit about the week that she had. She held batters to a 192 average. It's one of the best in the league. Her ERA may be high, but opponents really struggled against her hitting this week. So sometimes you got to dig in a little bit further in the chat to figure out into the stats, to figure out who might be able to pull some things together and have a really great outing in the next series as they get a little bit of a reset. Okay, Tay, your pick's up next.
Corner infielder, Kelsey Stewart Hunter.
Stewie going to Team Edwards. I'll say, looking through Team Edwards, there's a lot of familiarity through these players who have played together on national teams or at Athletes Unlimited or internationally as well. The squad's looking pretty experienced to me so far. Okay, Jocelyn, who's the next pick for the Gold Squad?
Riley West.
Riley West. Saw a ton of Riley West in the chat. So there you go. She's playing in gold this week. To be able to see her in the first game of Series 2, that's going to be on Sunday. It's going to be the second game as Team Allo follows up Team Clark versus Team Edwards on ESPN2. So for all those West fans that I saw, there's so many of you guys asking for Riley West next. She's on the Gold Squad this week with Jocelyn Allo. Okay, we're moving into the 11th round. Mackenzie, who will it be this time?
Sam Fisher.
Sam Fisher going to Team Clark. I think so much has clicked on offense for Sam Fisher over the last couple seasons, but wow, she has some crazy plays on the hot corner this week. She was one of our first defensive MVPs, so we've talked about stat points and MVP points and win points. But there's now one more way to pick up points in the Athletes Unlimited system, and it's MVP points. So how that works is there may not always be a defensive MVP of the game, but if enough players elect to vote for one and that person gets 50% of the votes, they get an extra plus 20 for being defensive MVP. She was one of them this week for just the command that she had at third base, really saving some runs, a couple of scenarios, and just being super heads up on a position that is not easy to play. And I definitely wouldn't want to be that close to some of these hitters at Athletes Unlimited. Okay, Tay, who's your next pick?
Pitcher, Alex Doracco.
Alex Doracco rounds out the pitchers for Team Edwards. You're starting to see some of these bullpens come together. Maybe you're starting to get a sense of who's playing in the field, who might be in these starting lineups. But one thing about AUX with double headers and so many games in such a short amount of time, one of the big responsibilities for these captains is figuring out keeping people fresh, keeping pitchers ready. It's a big challenge, and that's why kind of no matter where you are drafted, you're going to play. You're going to be, asked and called on to have that moment and be a part of picking up win points and inning points for your squad. Okay, Jocelyn, let us know who your next pick is.
Next pick, Jordan Roberts.
Jordan Roberts going to Team Allo. So digging into the Team Allo picks while we're here in the 11th round, you're starting to see those batteries start to come together, or establish outfield for this squad as well. We're moving through this draft pretty quick as these captains kind of know what they wanted, which means I think it went according to plan. Mackenzie, you're sticking to plan. Who's your next pick?
Nadia Taylor.
Nadia Taylor goes to Team Clark. They'll be on the same squad this week, so Mackenzie Clark won't be robbing Nadia Taylor this week like she did of that crazy catch that she had that earned her some defensive MVP points in Series 1. Okay, Tay, you're up next.
Corner infielder, Delaney Wiz.
Corner infielder, Delaney Wiz. Another one of those players that you'll see on this roster that you can put in a lot of different positions. Really gives captains some options when they're trying to move pieces around, set up a starting lineup, maybe get in fresh eyes, fresh legs for the doubleheader. Okay, Jocelyn, who's your next pick?
Hope Troutwine.
Hope Trotwine going to Team Allo. Talked a little bit about the week that she had in Series 1, or I should say Series, not week, because of how quick these games move through. We're ready for our next pick. Mackenzie, lock it in.
Morgan DuBois.
Morgan DeBoer going to Team Clark. That completes the blue squad this week. Taylor, round out this orange group.
Catcher, Haley Lee.
Haley Lee playing with Taylor Edwards and the rest of Orange Squad in Series 2. Okay, Jocelyn, finish off the gold team that you'll take on Series 2 with.
Andrea Filler.
Filler going to Team Allo. So there you have it. These are your Series 2 teams. Anyone that's standing out to you all, I'd love to know in the chat who you're rooting for, maybe who you think is going to pick up the most win points this week, picking up those innings, picking up those game wins too. I'd love to know what you all think. Thanks again to our host, sponsor of the draft, Applebee's, for letting us get a good snack in, a meal in, keeping us hydrated as these captains make these picks. Like we talked about, this series is going to kick off on Sunday. Both games are going to be on ESPN2. That's Sunday, June 16th. Taylor Edwards, you have the doubleheader first. So first they're going to face Team Clark at 12 Central, 1 Eastern, and then Team Allo is going to have their debut right after that game finishes on ESPN2. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Love getting to read all the different opinions and who you thought the next pick from should be and all the different places across the country that you're tuning in. We appreciate you being AU Pro Softball fans. We will see you for the start of Series 2 in just 2 days. Thanks for joining.